Well, hello everybody, and welcome to my Minecraft Live opinion video. I'm very excited about all the announcements today and excited to talk about them. The first one I want to kind of get out of the way is the mob vote. Today we learned that the armadillo is going to be joining us in Minecraft 1.21, so that's pretty exciting. I was pretty on board with the idea of pet armor, and so that's who I voted for, so I was pretty happy to see that come to pass. Next thing I want to talk about is the trial chambers. The trial chambers are a new structure that will generate somewhere in the overworld, and they look incredible. The size and scale is amazing. They're going to be procedurally generated, so every single one will be a little bit of a different experience. And they talked about how each of them will contain different trials. And they showed a couple of examples. Specifically, they showed a room with some loot in it. They showed some mob fights, but they indicated that there were even more rooms that they hadn't shown. So that's really exciting. There is a lot going on in this place. It's going to be a pretty incredible source of copper blocks. Copper blocks used to be a little bit of a chore. You had to get a lot of copper ore and then make copper ingots and then blocks. Now we can find one of these and pretty much clear it out and get all the copper we ever would want. I can't believe everybody isn't talking about how bizarre this moment right here was.
Don't follow me.
I really like
Okay.
unique visual style.
They also talked about a bunch of new decorative blocks. Throughout this video, there are different blocks that they sort of walk by or sort of talk past, and they don't really identify them, but you can see that there are a couple of types of copper blocks that are purely decorative. There's one that sort of looks like this. There's one that they referred to as like copper grates, and those look really fun. There's another shot of this later on where they're in a village and they're using them as windows, so I imagine light can pass through these. Really a very, very cool kind of industrial look. They also mentioned that in the trial chambers, these are tough blocks. And you can see that they're a little more green than the stone blocks were. And they have a little bit more of an angular thing. They're more of like a jewel cut, which is pretty awesome. One thing you might not have caught is later on when they're visiting a village, there's some more blocks there that look like they are also tough blocks. There are some smooth, tough blocks, there's some walls, there's some stairs. But in the trial chambers, we see the tough bricks, and then we see what I suspect are chiseled tough blocks. And then, of course, they talked about the copper bulbs. Copper bulbs are a new light source. Anytime we get a new light source, I am thrilled. And these are pretty interesting in that they oxidize and they dim when they oxidize. So you can use the axe to peel off some of the oxidation and brighten them back up. You'll see later on when they were visiting the village, they were using these and there's no source going to them. That being said, some of them are on and some of them are off. And I think what they're going to do is you use a redstone source, like a button or a switch to turn them on, and then they stay on, which is a cool thing. You don't have to have a lot of extra stuff to make the lights go on or off. And speaking of redstone, they showed us a block called the Crafter. Looks kind of like a really industrial fancy crafting table, and it is an auto crafter. They load it up with a whole bunch of stuff, and then they put a button on it, and every time you hit a button, it spits out one of the things you wanted. That's an amazing idea for things like a shop or a vending machine. You could have it so once somebody puts a diamond in, it engages the switch, and then when they push the button, it dispenses one of the items, and you don't even have to do all the crafting. I mean, that's amazing. My brain instantly goes to things like dispensers or comparators or other things that are a little bit of a pain to craft. They also showed where somebody made a contraption where they were able to eliminate some of the slots in the crafter. So when items were dispensed into it, they landed in a specific pattern to craft something. The example they showed was they were crafting swords. So it put an iron ingot, and then a stick, and it made a sword. That is just awesome. I'm super, super excited to get my hands on that and see what people come up with as far as the crafter goes. The last big reveal they showed in the trial chambers was the trial spawner. And this is a new type of spawner that dispenses a certain number of monsters depending on how many people are there, which is a brilliant idea. One of the silliest things, is like the dragon fight. When you bring like 10 people to the dragon fight, it takes no time at all. With these, the difficulty scales depending on how many players there are. The other thing that's super cool is once you beat the trial, the spawner dispenses loot. In the video, they showed it dispensing some emeralds and diamonds, which is awesome. And the last super clever thing that they kind of snuck in was that these spawners are repeatable. So they have a little bit of a cooldown phase, and then you can go visit them again and do the trial again. So if you're on a server with people and you encounter one, you can experience that. And then later, if your friends show up, they can experience it too. And then if you all show up, it will be even more difficult, which is just awesome. I just think that's such a cool idea. And finally, they announced a new mob called the Breeze. The Breeze will show up in these trial spawner fights. I don't know if that's the only place that it's going to show up, but they said that it definitely would be there. And it sort of looks like a windy blaze, like an air-based blaze, little tornado. Hops around like crazy. They had it jumping all over the room, and it does this wind-based attack. Now, what's interesting about this attack is if it hits you directly, you will take damage. But if it misses you, you'll still get blown back by the force of the air that it is expelling. And what else is cool is redstone items interact with this. So they showed trapdoors opening, or buttons getting pushed, or levers getting flipped. And so the room that you're in becomes a little bit of the battle as well. If there are dispensers with arrows in it, it might set those off. So that's a really interesting mechanic that we've never run into before, and I'm very excited about that. And of course, there's the idea that maybe if you captured one of these things, you could use it to trigger redstone. That's just an awesome idea as well. And hang on, can we talk about this guy's skin? Oh my god. One thing that's super awesome, just like last year, the things that are ready to go, ready for prime time, we're going to get to mess with these in just a couple weeks. They're going to release a snapshot with some experiments and things, and we'll get to play with them. You'll remember last year at Minecraft Live 2022, all that they showed us was the chiseled bookshelves, the hanging signs, the bamboo wood, and the camels, and that was pretty much it. The sniffer won the mob vote, and that was all. Everything else, the cherry blossoms, the archaeology, all of those other things came later. And I suspect this update will be exactly the same. These things will start us off, and then as the year goes on, they're going to add more things, more stuff for us to play with, and it's going to be an awesome update. I'm very excited. And that's all I've got for you. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you had fun. Please like and subscribe if you want to follow along on the adventure, and I hope to see y'all in the next one. Bye-bye.